Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us for today's webinar, Place, Culture, Climate, a Northern Boardwalk Story. My name is Shalika Sivathasan. I am the Administrative Assistant in the Continuing Education Department at the OAA. We will begin today's webinar by acknowledging the land on which we are meeting and calling in from. For millennia, the place that we call Ontario has been inhabited by Indigenous peoples and nations who have been stewards of the land and who are deeply connected to its rich cultural and natural landscape. We would like to invite you in a moment of reflection to acknowledge our shared responsibility to address past and present injustices and provide space for Indigenous knowledge and worldviews to shape the architectural landscape of Turtle Island. Before we begin, I would like to share some important information to ensure an effective and professional webinar experience. Please be informed that this session is being recorded for quality and educational purposes. For accessibility, we provide automated closed captioning service available in multiple languages to accommodate the needs of our diverse audience. In order to maintain a stable internet connection, we have muted all participant microphones and disabled video feeds. Kindly note that the chat function has also been deactivated. However, we do highly encourage questions through our Q&A window, which you will find at the bottom of your screen. Feel free to submit any questions that you may have for our presenters in that Q&A box throughout the presentation, and questions will be addressed during the designated Q&A period at the end of the presentation. For those seeking continuing education learning hours, please note that attendance is crucial. A minimum of 80% attendance is required for these hours to be accredited to your OAA transcript. Please allow for a few weeks for the processing and reporting of these hours. And lastly, please note that our presenters do not provide insurance, legal, or practice advice, and the OAA does not bear responsibility for errors or omissions in discussions during the webinar. Now, I'm very excited to introduce our speakers for today's session. Please welcome Shaina Coulter and Sophie Beaudoin. Welcome.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
So my name is Sophie Beaudoin. I'm a landscape architect practitioner from over 30 years plus, working at CCxA, which was formerly Coulter and Associates. For those who know us under that name, I'm with Shaina. So Shaina, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Shaina Coulter. I actually studied architecture for my master's and bachelor's degree at Waterloo. And I've worked at CCxA for 3 years, and this project that we're presenting was actually one of the first main projects that I was working on. So we're excited to share.
Yes, so
what we've been working on.
Let's begin.
Yeah.
So in December 2022, we've been called by the Naskapi Nation of Kawawachikamach to help them in their vision where they want to implement in their community a boardwalk. So when they call us, they said exactly that. We want a new boardwalk in our community. We knew nothing about them. It was really a first introduction for us in this Indigenous community, and also working up north, I would say. So, of course, at the first glance, we said, yes, absolutely, we can do that. But we wanted to do that in a certain way. So not just by a kind of a regular, per se, a regular project, but we want to approach it, in a very different way. So what we've said, even in the proposal, is that we want to have a kind of we want to visionate together a gathering space for the community at the edge of the water through a process of listening and working together to meet community needs in a way that is sensitive to the landscape and the spirit of the surrounding environment. So this was really important for us at the beginning. And that's the kind of attitude that we carry through along the way of that project. So another thing that we've said at the beginning as well, and this is a phrase that is coming from a manifesto from Claude. Say in every project that we are doing, we want to do a little plus. So we want to give them what people want, what clients want, but more. So you'll see along the presentation what we've done to follow that kind of attitude that we have here at CCxA. So for generation, the Naskapi were nomadic. So a few, like just for you to know them a bit better, they kind of follow caribou herds from the western Hudson Bay to the eastern Labrador coast, and from the northern Ungava Bay to the Labrador City and further south. So in the early 18th century, the 18s, they moved in order to be closer to an European trading post. And eventually, so they moved several times, but eventually they've been established in Kawawachikamach in 1983, where they really located permanently. It's Kawawachikamach is located 12 kilometers northeast of Shefferville, and Shefferville is a mining community. So their settlement followed the signing of the Northeastern Quebec Agreement in 1978. So that's with that agreement, they were allocated that land. Kawawachikamach is the only Naskapi community among Canada, and it's around 1,050 community members. So this project, the scope of work at the beginning, they asked us to develop a master plan, because not only they want a boardwalk around their community, but they also want a longer pathway or boardwalk connecting a cultural site, and we'll say a little bit more about that. That is 5 kilometers away from their community. So the master plan was supposed to be the first step, and then the phase one, and after that, preparing tender document for construction and doing construction site supervision along the way, like as a regular project. But it appears that they were really eager to have something built. They were envisioning that boardwalk for such a long period that they asked us at the really beginning, instead of doing the master plan and then phase one, they want us to start by phase one and doing the master plan in parallel. So for us, it was a big challenge because, like I said at the beginning, we were not really, it was our first contact with them, with that community, and with working up north. So we had a lot to learn.
So here on the map, you can see this is where the Naskapi Nation of Kawawachikamach is located in Quebec. And it's really nestled among the border of Quebec and Labrador. So it's right in this nook. And this is where we are located. CCxA is located in Montreal. And just a point, it's about 1,000, just over 1,000 kilometers north of Montreal. And so this is what the current day Naskapi territory is considered. But as Sophie mentioned before, they used to go from Hudson's Bay to the Labrador Sea as nomads following the caribou, and from Ungava Bay to Labrador City. But now this is really considered their main territory of interest. And so you can see here on the map, this is the Naskapi area of primary interest. And they have different land categories within this area. But what we want to call attention to is here in this little square, there's a little red area of land, which is classified as the category 1A and lands. It's about 42 square kilometers of area. And this is where the Naskapis can build freely for community purposes. And so the category 1A and lands refers to a specific class of land in northern Quebec that was set aside for the exclusive use and benefit of the Naskapi Nation of Kawawachikamach under the Northeastern Quebec Agreement and subsequent federal and provincial legislation. And so this is their community. This is an aerial shot from their website. And really, what we're seeing here is where the development is kind of limited to. We don't have the clear outline of where the 1A lands are located in this aerial, but it's really kind of constricted and limited to this area. And just across this little river here between the lakes, there's also this parcel of land that is considered as 1A lands as well. But what we understand is this land area is kind of swampy and not suitable for development for the community. And so we were looking at this, these images when we were first introduced to the project, and we were trying to understand what does the community look like. And here, this is an image we found of the community. So you can see that the houses, the houses and buildings are super colorful. So exactly like we were trying to understand what, when we arrived at the community, what we would find. So getting from Montreal to Kawawa is a bit of a journey. It's 1,150 kilometers north of Montreal. So you can get there by kind of two methods. The method that we get there by is by plane, which takes 5.5 hours with 2 refueling stops in Quebec and Sept-Îles. And then you fly into Schefferville, and from there you drive 15 minutes to Kawawa. Or you can make it to Sept-Îles here, and you can take the train, which is an 11-hour train ride, which is shared by passenger trains and also for cargo for the mines. So here is Schefferville, and Schefferville is a mining community. It was a mining community in the 50s, started in the 50s. And just to call out that here you can see the mines. And getting from Schefferville to Kawawachikamach is about a 15-minute drive. So you kind of are winding through these lakes and the landscape, and then all of a sudden you take a hard left turn, and it's a straight road directly to Kawawachikamach, and you're kind of at the top of the hill here, and you can see your descent into the town.
So we've done the first site visit we've done, so it was early April. It was kind of maybe around 0 degrees in Montreal, but -40 out there. So they told us a bit in advance, so we were well prepared. But it's really to say that seasons out there are really different in terms of seasons, shortened period. I mean, summer is really, really short, and winter is pretty long and cold. So, is it this one?
Yeah.
This. Okay. So the first site visit, when you just land from the plane, take the car and go from Schefferville to Kawawachikamach, and then they were waiting for us in snowmobiles. So we know nothing about their landscape. We know nothing about the land out there, and everything to us appear kind of except the sky that was very blue that day, but everything else was a kind of in black and white color. So it was really difficult for us to even understand where the water was, the water body was, and the land was. So at some point we jumped with them on the snowmobile, and they said to us, like after a kind of a 15 to 20-minute ride, well, just tell us where you wanted to stop for photos, you know? And we were thinking like, we don't know. We clearly don't understand where we are at the moment and what we are looking at. But after the first day or two, and it's like that at every site visit we've done, it takes time to adjust. After the second day, we were starting to get where we were exactly, and what we were looking at, and where phase 1 could take place in that kind of long master planning / phase 1 exercise. we were even about to like read in that landscape what will be eventually the kind of the gem that we wanted to reveal in that boardwalk, the hidden gem, I would say. So of course, a project like that is with a lot of stakeholders. Stakeholders are from the nation, essentially. One of them is their principal consulting and project managing group, which is Atmacinta. They play a role with us as a kind of an intermediate, like to introduce us to the community and to help us understand some of the way to properly communicate and etc. and who to talk to for different reasons. And other than that, there was part of the community. There was also the community itself. Sorry, can you the band council, the elders group, very important, the teachers of the school, for the kids, how do they use the lands around, wildlife preservation as well. And one of them, also very important in that process, was the Department of Public Works, who help us along the way to understand how to get supply from elsewhere to there, and to help us also kind of organize the bids for contractors and to run the site work after that as well. Along what we heard when we were there was like kind of several kind of team that we addressed with them. There is nature, wildlife, and environment. In that field, they want to have easy access to water and nature. It's a priority for them. And I mean, it's not easy to them in summertime to have access to water. You'll see it's very bushy. There's a lot of issue that they are facing. In wintertime, it's easier. I mean, they can go where they want, essentially with their snowmobile. So in wintertime, it's like a free land, free open field for them. In summertime, it's really different. So they have stray dogs are common in the community as well. Sometimes it could be a problem. Black bears pass through the town. Litter is a persistent issue in and around the community. They are really aware of that, and we'll see later what we've done with that. So mobility and safety around that community, there is no sidewalk. So people are walking on the road. The road are really large. The road are unpaved. I mean, it's gravel. It's really dusty. It's not safe. So they need safe place to walk, to run, and to play. There is a need for lighting at night as well in the darker winter days and in the in-between season per se. So in terms of culture and land, so the caribou hold a deep cultural significance through even though they no longer migrated near the community, so they're staying up north now. The river evokes memory of caribou sightings, so the elders are having memories of that, not the youngest. The color red, as you will see, that we are using in the project is strongly resonated with their art, identity, craft, and culture. And the winter brings a completely different relationship to the land, like I mentioned, with full access to explore. So, and also in terms of gathering place, so you'll see the baseball field is currently hosting community event, and that's why we kind of wrap the first phase around those kind of very important gathering place that are already in there in the community. And there's a desire also, what we heard, for seating along the lake. So they want benches, picnic table, and small gathering spots. Feedback and principal objective. So from the council, it was important for them to incorporate elements that are relevant to the Naskapi culture. Create a boardwalk for pedestrian use only, so no ATV, no snowmobile. Incorporate landmarks and benches. For the community, create a safe place to walk. Elevated the boardwalk to reduce impact on the ground. Provide space for outdoor teachings and education. Provide areas including picnic tables and benches, and facilitate barbecues and group gathering. Facilitate connection to nature. Design for disability. This one was really important, and easy access for everyone. And from DPW, which is Public Work and Atmacinta, item of priority was where boardwalk, community gathering, trails, tree planting, vegetation clearing, beer-proof garbage bin, student crosswalk. Keep the design simple and accessible, and design for longevity. So back to images. Sorry, it was a bit a bit long for reading. So the planning of Kawawachikamach, the town itself, is made since day one by not planners, but really more by engineer. It's engineer driven. At the center of the community, there is that ring road that we call that really surrounded all the kind of facilities, so school, the band council office, the daycare, community center. On the upper side of their community, there is also the health clinic, CLSC, the grocery store, and the arena, which is of significant importance for their daily life. And you see the baseball diamond. That is a really important space for them as well. That is just like close to that magnificent tips of land, a kind of peninsula, where we decided to wrap with the boardwalk around for phase one.
So, as I mentioned before, we were working towards a master plan for the community that would connect the community to the Lake Anna's cultural sites, which are located down here. And at the same time, we were trying to work on designing phase one and having it built, and eventually also continuing the boardwalk along the entire perimeter of the community between the community and Lake Peter. And so every time we were going there for site visits for phase one, we are also looking at the landscape to understand how we can design the master plan and what types of program and infrastructure we can use, not just for phase one, but that can be implemented across the entire kind of master plan and be built and easily implemented and kind of replicated throughout the project, and creating a language for this project. So here, this is the kind of the master plan for the community plan. And so calling out that this is where we've identified our phase one area. This is the diamond, the baseball diamond. Here's that ring road. And so within this, you have kind of all the civil,
the civic
programs and buildings. This is really the new residential development area over here. So we are really focusing on every time that we are creating a phase for the boardwalk, we wanted to make sure it was linking back to the community. So we were never trying to create like a dead end. If you were to continue along, for instance, you start at phase one and eventually you continue along phase two, it somehow is always going to tie back into the community. And there's always going to be kind of interesting things along the way. So this is where we ended up with phase one. It's about a 400 linear meter boardwalk. And so when you're working up north, it costs 3 times the amount as working down south. So the project, the phase one project, cost in total about $2 million. And so this is including like the different types of program that we've located along the boardwalk. But essentially, this is about a $5,000 per linear meter project. And so you can see here, this is Lake Matamas and Peter Lake. So there's 2 lakes on either shores, and then at the top here, there's the river. And what we also identified is kind of this grove of mature black spruce trees. And kind of bookending the project, we have a boat launch on this side and kind of another boat launch, or more so just access to water here. So we're creating a kind of a project that is easily accessible. You could also drive there and park your car and walk kind of along the entire perimeter of the boardwalk. And it links back up to the baseball diamond, which they're already having, as we mentioned before, major community events. And then this is that peninsula piece of land. And so we wanted to make sure that we're using kind of, I guess, utilizing and embracing the beauty of the entire site and not just limiting it to the perimeter of the peninsula. So the site conditions and considerations that kind of apply to the entire project, to the master plan as well. But for instance, with phase 1, we have the peninsula, which is situated between 2 lakes. It has access to the river, but it also has really high winds that are coming off the lakes. In the summer, there are swarms of mosquitoes, so it's pretty difficult to kind of sit outside in the summer. In the winter, the snow gets up to 2 meters or higher sometimes, and it lasts between 6 to 8 months per year. Temperatures in the winter are reaching minus 50 degrees Celsius, sometimes colder with wind chill. And already on the site, there are existing pedestrian and ATV trails. And here's an image of some of those stray dogs that we saw. So only having seen the site in the winter, we never saw it without snow. So we were looking at the aerials and studying surveys, but it was really difficult to understand our site. So we were sent photos of the existing site from community members that they had taken the previous fall. And using this image, we tried to create an image of, or like a rendering of what we were proposing to give them an idea of what was to come. So here you can see the boardwalk, and we're going to talk through kind of the design elements that are implemented here, but also the gathering space in the middle of the peninsula, and kind of this denser shrub that is dividing kind of the boardwalk and the gathering space. And so eventually this is what we've ended up with, although this is still under construction, but you can see the gathering space over here on the right, the boardwalk as it's wrapping around the peninsula. So I think what we're proposing and what is in reality are pretty similar.
So every site visit out there must be maximized. I mean, it's a long way going there. So we're having meetings with the community, with different community members. We're having walk in the wild for sure. And at night, we're really like kind of gathering information and making sure we are taking good notes of everything, because we're not like out there every week. So that's a kind of a view of our kind of what we're doing at night over there. So from our site visit, so this is the existing condition at our second site visit. So we knew that we will do phase 1. I mean, phase 1 was already almost designed at that time. Construction were about to begin or so. And I think that what's important here to say is that we want to have the kind of the lower impact on the land as possible, the lowest footprint on the existing ground as possible. We are close to the lake. We are close to that kind of Labrador tea prairie and mooses, which you'll see it better in some other photos. So, and part of what we've done with the aerial photo and with other information that we gather, in that second site visit help us to really read the landscape in terms of like the ATV trail, where they were exactly. And in that case, for instance, that small bosque of trees, we designed the entrance, what we call the entrance forest in that bosque of trees, just to kind of had an added experience before going along the lake. So it was more kind of a reflective moment before going like really and see the open landscape. When we first talked about that in the meeting, people in the community, they did not see what we saw in that little forest as a kind of interest. For them, it was more trash and not something that they cross at some speed, but not really a place really to implement an important portion of the project. So, but after that, I think that they get it, and you'll see what we've done with that after. So this is in that second site visit as well, like going through the heavy bushes along the water, make sure that the kind of the layout of the boardwalk was at the right location. And we mentioned the beauty of the flora in that peninsula. So as Shaina was talking, there is that kind of bushes at the end that kind of isolated the river lookout that we've implemented there. But also it's a kind of in the middle of that, it's a kind of a prairie-like with all sort of mooses, all colors, with Labrador tea as well. So so at the beginning, the gathering space was not part of the plan, but when we see that the richness of that like kind of middle portion, we want to make it part of the project in a way. So cultural inspiration and local material, it's really, really important for many consideration to work and for us to work with local material and to refer to cultural, to their culture. I think that the first thing we've done of importance related to material was to work with every pieces of wood or is made out of tamarack wood that you can see the little yellow ones in that picture. These are the tamarack wood. So we want the wood to be part of what they are seeing out there, part of the project. Yes, I'll talk later about how we harvested that wood. So yes, go ahead.
So also we were with DPW and they were taking us around to all their different kind of quarry sites. So each site was providing a different rock and stone material that we were going to the quarry and identifying what materials were available and identifying ways that we could incorporate them into the design. And then on our own time, in our own exploration time, we took our car and we were driving. We drove northwest of Shepherdsville and we were trying to explore the different mining landscapes. So here you can see in these photos the red exposed earth that is typical of iron ore production sites and extraction sites. And these sites are dating back to the 50s. This is some of their cultural elements. So these are, this is clothing and moccasins that are created from caribou hides. And so what they've done is used traditional paint colors that are traditional to the Naskapi, and they apply them in these really beautiful patterns to decorate kind of these clothing. And so we wanted to also incorporate these types of colors that they're familiar with. And patterns that they hold true and love in their culture. So how does this apply in construction? So for our construction documents, they were pretty interesting. We were identifying, for instance, this is the gathering place, a plan view on the left. So in this plan, we call out different stones that we wanted to be incorporated into the construction and design for kind of all these different elements. And we are calling them out and using the names the Naskapi people are familiar with, the DPW knows the names of. So they told us the names of kind of all these different piles within this one quarry. And we created this map to say, okay, use the asphalt sand. So maybe we would call it something else down south, but this is the name that they're calling this sand up north. And so just calling them out on the plan. So it's a clear indication of where to get the materials. And, incorporating our photos into the drawings that we send them for construction. And again, using their names that they're familiar with. And so we go to the quarry site, we have an idea of the materials that are available. And then on one of our site visits, when we had a further idea of how the design of phase one was coming along, we went to the quarry, we picked out stones from this huge pile that would be applicable to use within the gathering space. So how to implement it in design. So we were bringing back these stones and, climbing over this pile and trying to pick out the ones that are the right thickness, that won't crack, that are the kind of the right shape, and bringing them back. And honestly, like it was like one every, I don't know, 100 stones actually would work. So you're kind of climbing over these piles and you bring them back. And we created a demonstration pile for how we actually wanted this, the center of the gathering place to look. And then eventually, this is the final construction of it. And again, iron ore extraction is local to the region. And so steel is kind of a main material within this region. So incorporating steel into the use for our different elements of art. And this is, in our proposal, we created like areas where we could use some quartz steel, for instance, in a storytelling wall, which you can see the stack of pieces here, and also kind of cultural elements like caribou sculptures. Then we worked with the artist James Kennedy, and he further refined everything. He worked with the nation, he went up north, and he visited, and he was talking to the community. And he, from meeting with them, he understood exactly what they were looking for and refined the design of these elements.
Something that needed to be said about why we want so much to work with local material. I mean, of course, it's because we want materials to have a resonance with their land and with their culture, as well as it's really expensive to bring material to their community. Like we said, it's a lot of logistic. It has to come by train. So it's really, and trains are full sometimes, and you have to wait for the next. So it's a hard logistic to put together. But for the woods, something interesting here. So we work with tamarack, like I mentioned, because it's the hardest of the softwood. It's do not rot. And it's a wood coming from local, but they're not harvesting wood out there, any wood. So they have mainly black spruce and tamarack. So this wood in particular comes from Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean, and it's always harvested in the spring. So really, really early in the stage of phase one, so conceptual design, we had to secure the quantity and the type of plank exactly that we will need, and to be able to harvest it at the right time of the year in the spring, and to have it like in the community before construction begins. So construction, when it begins, it was around, I think, early September in 2023. It was still really, really kind of swampy, muddy, They were having a machinery that was too heavy for the site. So we went through a very, very tough period of we will never be able to implement the way we designed it, I would say. But in a week, we just turn upside down all the construction technique. So the boardwalk, instead of drilling piles in the soil, which was mainly impossible, not just because of the wet soil, but also because we were hitting rocks. So it was all kind of problems. So we decided instead to do a kind of a really thick layer of subgrades of 0 to 2.5 inches compacted subbase. So the boardwalk, instead of being really anchored, will be is floating actually on a kind of a regular granular basis, like just more thick. Same thing for the high post. We'll talk a little bit more further in the presentation why those high posts has been designed, but similar techniques. So instead, we use the kind of the wood posts that were supposed to support the boardwalk. We use them to do a kind of a stacking technique to support those high posts that prevent us to do a kind of a very deep hole. So we were more in the surface. Same thing for the caribou. Instead of going with drilling helicoidal piles, we were using like steel H-beam on surface to have them secure.
So kind of the role of high post. We're using these as indicators of the boardwalk's location. They're kind of objects that stand out in the winter. And in the winter, when there's major snow accumulation, it's not necessarily the concern, but it's really when there's minor snow accumulation. So in the spring, fall, when the snow is less deep, and you have all these snowmobiles that are used to kind of roaming around the landscape and having free reign over the landscape, making sure that they're aware of this boardwalk and not creating an accident that they accidentally run over the boardwalk and injure themselves or impact the furniture or the boardwalk itself or the structure. And so also using red, which is one of their cultural colors, using this red as a way to stand out in the snow to create this kind of vibrant presence in a white winter, a white and black winter, as we talked about with the trees, bringing colors to the landscape. And also we topped it with kind of a reflective white band at the top. So in the night, if you're going around on your snowmobile, you still have an indication of where the boardwalk is. And so this is kind of our test of 3 different colors that we brought up ourselves to Kawawa when we were on a site visit, making sure that we were picking a color that the community was happy with, but also that when you were standing back, it was really showing up as a vibrant red and not something kind of dark that faded into the background. So this is the final color that we chose on the right, but maybe it would look like this bottom one here, but it's actually this middle color that we chose because when you're kind of stepped away from the bottom one, it looked really, really dark. So making sure that everything that we were choosing was actually applicable. And you can even see kind of in the landscape here, they have some red flowers that pop out. So these colors are tying back into the landscape too. And these high posts also act as another, they allow infrastructure for lighting. So as we mentioned before, that there was a demand for lighting along the boardwalk. And so every 4 posts, we have a light. We worked with a Canadian company. And so this is a solar light that works in northern climates in the cold. So it's safe for the northern climate. But actually, because of the snow accumulation, that makes it accessible. So if there was so much snow that came up to here, people were walking, if they're walking along the snow, they would have access to the light. And so we made the lights actually removable and are stored during the winter. So these were kind of the different options, the lighting operation diagrams showing the different options that we could choose for the solar lighting, the different programs. But in the end, we went with this option where there's a period in the night when it completely turns off. Otherwise, it's kind of a continuous dim light. And when people are walking by, it brightens. So this is what we found is the most applicable for this boardwalk. And we also worked with the community to make sure that we were bringing awareness that there was a new boardwalk. In case you weren't aware before, we had these posters kind of set up around the community and the schools and the community centers, just bringing awareness to the community that there was a boardwalk and you couldn't bring your snowmobile here anymore or your ATVs. And instead you would have to kind of go around. And then also working with the community to make sure that to kind of defer ATVs from using the boardwalk. So at first we proposed that there would be these kind of big boulders that would block the ATVs from getting onto the boardwalk. But instead the ATVs were still kind of going around or climbing over top of these rocks. So the week before our opening, we designed a system that would still allow wheelchairs through, but would deter the ATVs from using the boardwalk as kind of a track.
So a bit more about the project. So give them what they want. So that's exactly what we've done along the way. So they want like picnic area, picnic tables. So we located one on the sunset side and we located one on the sunrise side as well. Here you can see on that photo as well, the kind of the gray box that is standing out a bit like kind of a 45-degree is the bear-proof garbage bin. So this is one element. Also furniture, so the benches, you'll see. So what we'll try to do for phase 2, phase 3, and even for the longer portion of the walk all the way through the cultural centers, the cultural site, is that we want to have like a kind of a language that will be able to repeat and that they will recognize that as part of that that trail and that journey. So what we want to do is, like I mentioned, give them what they want and more. So we'll go through the more, for instance. Oh, that's mine. Sorry. So like we mentioned in that entrance forest, what we created is what we've called the more, so the additional program. So at the beginning, right at the beginning, we wanted to introduce that kind of storytelling wall. And we worked, like Shaina mentioned, with James Kennedy, the artist. But what we want to do with that storytelling wall was to represent and to present a narrative. So the fauna, the scenery, and the motif or the pattern per se of that is of cultural importance to them. So this is the kind of the final assembled panels where you can see there's their important mountains. Everything has a name, and I cannot name everything in there, but you have the caribou, you have the bear, you have the wolf, you have the fish, the birds. So everything in there is of some cultural importance. So here you can see that what we want to create as well since the beginning was a kind of a really gentle meandering path. So that's what we implement along the way. So no straight line, but no harsh turn as well, just a gentle meander. So here you can see as well the kind of the importance of the winter in their use of the land. So they are using that a lot in the winter. They are not removing snow, they're just walking on top of it, but they are using it in every season. So another images of that kind of gentle meander, and that also what we mentioned as the lowest footprint as possible. You can see the natural vegetation around. So really we've tried to kind of mitigate the room that they were having to work as a kind of a narrow corridor, the corridor of the boardwalk itself, mainly. So caribou herd, right at the beginning of the concept phase, we were having like one spot to put some caribou herds. But along our site visit, with the discussion we have with the elders, mainly we decided to have like two herds, like if the caribous are moving, and we discussed with them what's kind of what will be the best location to put them, but as well as the best kind of orientation. So the herd of caribou, they are looking north, they are heading north, I should say. And the work of James Kennedy was really important here to define really the right profile of caribou, because I mean, sometimes we can have like a kind of more uh, a kind of more pictorial or more conceptual profile of caribou, but here we want really to stick with the right profile, not only the profile but dimension. So the size for a male caribou, female, and a younger caribou. So that was really important to stick as possible as to the real animal here. So this is the river lookout. So at the first site visit, remember I was saying that we were looking at the hidden gem, and the river connecting the two lakes for us was a really special places. And this is where we extended a bit in terms of, we widened the boardwalk. We implement those three kind of benches looking at that river. And after, at another visit with them, we've learned from one of the community members that they were the elders. In fact, they were having it's exactly the spot where they were able to see the caribou on the other side of that river. So this site was really important for them. So it was important for us in terms of reading the landscape and looking at what was significant, but it merged with their site of interest and importance. So you can see more of that little river lookout out there.
So this is the gathering space. So as we mentioned before, this is kind of the center of the peninsula, and we found it to be like a perfect place for a gathering circle. And it's flanked on either side by the boardwalk and surrounded by native bushes and vegetation. And so the gathering space really becomes the gravitational center of the boardwalk. And it's using the materials, again, that we visited the quarries and we brought those materials here. And so this is an image in the winter. It's already becoming an outdoor classroom, and people are already enjoying and basking in the sun. And so also what we mentioned, or what we noticed, kind of in the beginning of the design phase, we were studying the sites and surveys, and we saw that there was this kind of little existing path that was leading somewhere out here. And so we already were using the boardwalk to wrap around the peninsula. And instead of kind of navigating to kind of this corner of interest, instead we just branched the boardwalk out. And this was really interesting because, well, we were reading the site, but then also, once this was built, we heard from the community and they said, oh, that's my fishing spot. So we didn't actually have that knowledge kind of before, but we had read the site And we understand that people were going there. And so to really hear that they were excited about this more accessible spot and that they found special was really exciting. So in October 2024, so last year, we had the opening ceremony. And so the nation pulled together a big event, and there was a fire ceremony with ceremonial tea, and they brought together a whole bunch of different foods, including the bannock, which is their kind of traditional Indigenous bread. And also there was a ribbon cutting ceremony at the boardwalk. So a whole bunch of people kind of presented what this boardwalk means to them, including the chief, Louise. So she said, this path represents more than just a place to walk. It's a space where families, friends, and elders can gather to enjoy the natural beauty that surrounds us. And it's a place that reminds us of who we are, where we come from, and where we're headed. And she closed with saying that the landscape architects listened to us, they understood, and they designed this boardwalk in a way that truly embraces the beauty of our land. So their work is a testament to how collaboration can yield something beautiful and enduring. And I think that was really meaningful for us to feel like we listened to them and we all worked together to create something that everyone was kind of proud of.
So some of the key takeaways from that project. So, I mean, we were having some kind of thoughts or objective at the beginning, but at the end, really what we've been able to achieve was to read the landscape and revealing its hidden gems, like I mentioned, to really blurry boundaries between design and art with those heartbeats that are integrated and that are meaningful to the culture. Doing some placemaking through the spatial arrangement, like that gathering space, prioritizing the pedestrian experience, connecting the community to their natural settings, and promoting education and well-being. So, and what we learn as well is that when we were there, we were more than a kind of a designer role only. We were really playing a role in the management side of that project. We were really with them, like from day one to the end, and eventually to the other phases of the work, working together to make every aspect of that project to work. And to create like a place that is a place of beauty. It was really important to them to reveal that beauty, to connect to nature, like we were saying, and to create place of significance. Yes, you can see Shaina there, who's driving her drone. And to work with what they have, what they want, to give them a little bit of more, but still not to work only towards our goal of doing like a kind of design of excellence, even if it's what we're doing in each of our project, but more than that, to really stick to the plan and to stay as simple as possible, as you can see. So here, the Award of Excellence. So this project has been gathering some awards. So from the CCxA in the landscape category, and also in Grand Prix du Design, and that is really a worldwide prize. So in three different categories this time. So what's important to us, the awards and the recognition from our peers are really important, but I think that really, at the end, it's the true collaboration that we've been able to establish with them, and that will be really trust that we establish that will be useful for the upcoming phase. So in a way, stay tuned.
And so this project was really designed and informed by the Naskapi, designed for the Naskapi. And we worked together with a team of consultants that embrace the Naskapi culture and knowledge. And together we created something really beautiful and remarkable.
Thank you.
Fun.
Can we go back to the first image, maybe?
Okay, thank you so much, Shaina and Sophie, for this really amazing presentation and sharing these beautiful photos of this project. I think our members have really enjoyed the entire presentation. We've already got some questions in the Q&A box, so we can launch right into questions. We had one question in the very beginning about the Naskapi community, and so maybe we could hear a little bit more about them. So Ali has asked, what's the population of the Naskapi community? What is the main economy drivers in the community?
So population is around 1,000 and 1,000 or so people. Of course, there is the population itself, and there is the workers that are coming as well, like for 3 weeks in and 3 weeks out. Mainly, this is the rhythm for the houses and etc.
There's also people that are not permanently living in the community, but are living in Montreal or elsewhere, and then go and spend time in the summer months in Kawawachikamach, and then kind of come home in the winter back to Montreal.
Yes, and in terms of economy for the community itself, of course, some are working in the mining industry that is just close by around Shefferville. Some of them are having a role of the teacher, the nurse, the doctor, etc. But I think it's mainly they started company into the kind of the civil work, so road work, etc. They have their own company. They have their own company also for building houses. So it's pretty diversified. The train, yeah, I was about to talk about that. So the train coming from Sept-Îles to Shefferville is a joint venture between, I think, 3 Indigenous community. So the Matimilkosh Lake John new community, another one that I can remember, and the Naskapi.
Yeah.
So they are very proud of that train that they operate by themselves, and it's really for them, it's really their kind of their more safe and true connection to to the south by train. So, and people are commuting by train. We've never done it, but it's part of the plan.
I think there was also a stat I saw that the train, a round trip, costs about $150.
Okay.
And the planes cost over $1,000. So if you're trying to kind of buy materials or food or supplies, it's a lot cheaper to go south, and the train makes that more accessible too.
Amazing. Hopefully one day you'll get a chance to take that. I think you said it was an 11-hour train journey, so that's quite a journey, but maybe one day, yeah. Thanks so much. So we have a few questions actually about the contractors, and I think you listed on the last slide the name of the contractors there. So Ali has asked, were there local contractors and builders for the construction process? How did the design team, how the design team were supervising the construction process? And then we have another question. Who was the contractor? Was it hard to find workers who could build the sidewalk?
Well, it's I think that those three question and sub question will be really answered into one main focus. So Mishkaweshkan, so it was a regular bid process. But of course, company who responds to that bid, our company was working out there, and they have crew out there, local crew as well. So Mishkaweshkan is partially owned by Indigenous people as well, but not only. We have embedded into the contract that they needed to have Naskapi people, at least 3 workers on site all the times with them. So, and this was in the purpose of, at some point, the nation being autonomous on building more boardwalk in their community, to make sure that we, at some point, we reduce the cost of that, which is really high. But this part was really difficult to find really workers that want to invest their time in that particular project. Other than that, so they are not used to do landscape project out there. So for them, at the beginning, when we started the project, they were not really kind of engaged. They were saying like, "Oh my gosh, I am a woodworker and I'm working on building home. Why should I stop what I'm working on and build a boardwalk?" But the more and more the project was going on, and the people of the local community, they were paying attention, even when it was only the rock subsurface. They were walking on it already, and they were responding to that very positively. So at the end, I mean, they would have done the 2 kilometer like right away. They were really as excited as we were, the crew. I mean,
I think it also, like in the beginning, it was really hard work for clearing, and you're working outside with all the bugs. But once there was kind of a path established that the boardwalk would be built on, it became a bit more enjoyable, I think. And then also, as they started to see it come together, as Sophie mentioned, there was a lot of pride in the work that they were doing. And like I talked to some of the contractors, and there was like, they mentioned that shift in themselves. And as I was taking drone photos, they were asking like, "Oh, can you send those to me? Like, I want to show my family." So there was a huge excitement shift in the workers.
Yeah. And to do the site supervision, I mean, of course, it was difficult. But for the first part, when we were doing the first layout, our civil engineer, Ashini, they were on site for a full 3 weeks during that period. So when we were having those problems with the machinery that was sinking and etc. and shifting the construction method, so they were there for a full 3 weeks to manage that part. After that, it was mainly on photo and a few site visits from Shaina out there, and also on their part, on the civil engineering part. So it was quite a kind of a regular process, but partially remotely, of course.
And towards the end, I think the contractor was sending us photos every day by the end of the day. So we were having an update every day. It was a bit difficult. It's funny because when you're on the site, like there's no service. So if I was at Kawawa, having walked the site and then coming back and meeting with Sophie, like the communication part was a bit more difficult because there was like a little hut for the contractors with Wi-Fi. So you kind of have to go there, hang out, make your calls, have the communication. But otherwise, it's not just as easy as kind of making a call back to Montreal and asking, what do we do? But in the end, it worked out.
Yeah. I have a question myself that stems from, I think, some of that conversation. So it's very obvious that this was a highly collaborative project with the local contractors, as you mentioned, with the community especially as well, with them sending photos to you when you couldn't access the site. And so you talked a little bit about their reception to the boardwalk, and you shared that quote by Chief Louise. And so I wonder if there has been any updates to your own design process or your planning for phase 2 and 3 based on some of the reception or some of the things the feedback that you heard from the community.
That's a very good question. It's pretty recent. I mean, it has been open last fall in October. I think that we're still waiting to see how it's going to be used, and if there encounters any kind of problems with any aspect of it. And so, but for now, I mean, other than the construction technique, which was a big deal, we don't really see any other aspect that we can. Of course, there is lesson learned in more the management and logistic, I would say. than the design itself.
Mhm.
The design, I think that we achieve what we really want to achieve. So stay as simple, as grounded as possible, as connected as possible to their culture. And I think that's it's exactly what we want to do. So for the upcoming phases. Well, the upcoming phases will be really different, and we'll have different challenges. We'll have like to go over Eye Point and more kind of a really nice viewpoint, elevated, so more ramp, more stair, more. So it's going to be more constructed
Yeah.
than landscape in some aspect of it. So yeah.
I think understanding what tools and machinery they have, that at first that was a little bit of a struggle to figure out how do we implement this in a delicate manner using what they have available up north.
Like we mentioned, they are driving infrastructure company, so they have big machinery. So and you cannot ask them, can you have like a smaller machine? Yes, we can in a few months. You know, so everything is like, okay, so we'll deal with it and we'll find a way to make it work.
And it's really at some point there was kind of, we were looking for a machine, and it's using what's available both in Shefferville and Kawa, and talking to the community members, and then them providing, saying like, oh, I have this machine, you could use this. This is with the woodcutter. But
Wow.
So just kind of being open and resourceful for what's available up north.
Yeah, you have to be very adaptable, I guess, which
exactly.
is amazing. Yeah. So we have a question here about the material acquisition process. So Catherine has asked, can you please speak more on the material acquisition process, especially the volume of wood? You mentioned the wood was sourced locally. Was it milled in the community or brought in via winter road and or plane?
So the wood, it was, I mean, it's a wood that they have locally, but we did not supply it locally. So it comes from Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean, which is a bit further south from Kawawa, north of Montreal, so a few hours drive. And because they are not, like I mentioned, they are not harvesting any wood out there in their community. So it's not an economy that they developed. I think that for them, the forest is something that they do not want to exploit. So we brought that wood from that area in Lac-Saint-Jean, Saguenay, all the way to Sept-Îles by truck and then by train. And then from Shefferville by truck again to Kawawa. The wood has been stored for several months in the hardware in Shefferville prior to be bringing in next to the construction site. But the importance of that tamarack wood, even if it's not harvested locally, it's a wood that they have in their landscape, so that they can make the connection between what is really growing out there and the wood that we use for that project.
Also, we had a bit of a funny story where we were trying to order paint to use up north, and that was a complicated process because the paint that we were requesting that we had seen here in the store in Montreal wasn't able to be shipped up north very easily, or like kind of stores didn't really understand how to send it there. So Sophie had to go to the store, buy the paint, send it to the contractor, and then he was able to get it on the train. So it was a bit more of it's just you kind of have to shift the way you acquire material and bring it up north.
Great. Thank you so much. We have a really interesting question here from Erzu. They've written, thank you, very exciting project and story around the process. Have you had a chance to investigate the soundscape of the space? Knowing that the northern area has their very unique soundscape, I'm interested in hearing your experience of the soundscape during your visits.
I will speak for myself. We were having so many things to experiment out there that the sound doesn't strike me at a first glance per se. I think it was more the color, the light, the color of the sky, the crispiness of the air. But I will definitely pay attention to the soundscape next time.
Yeah.
I can say
Yeah.
that, but not it. No, it doesn't like.
The only thing I can like note is kind of the difference when you're in the community near the roads or near the construction of the new developments. Like you really hear a lot of the trucks and because it's a dusty road, you can kind of hear every car driving by. Or kind of the mining, not mining necessarily, but the transport of mining materials or quarry materials. That has like a really loud impact. But really, when you step away and you kind of hear in the peninsula and you make it to the river lookout, like the difference is quite astounding. It's completely quiet. Like really, there's no sounds from people that you can hear. So I guess that's what I would say I noticed the most.
Yeah, and you know when we said it's another topic, but when we said it's dusty and they don't have any safe place to walk, what we need to say is that, like I mentioned, the road are large and unpaved. People are driving in 4x4 truck at a high speed. So when we say it's dusty, I mean even the yellow bus, the school bus, you know, they're supposed to be yellow. Well, they are just brown. Everything
Wow.
envelope on by a brown dust. Even your clothing, your everything, the car, the interior of the car, the exterior of the car. So really, it's true. It's true, and the way they are building their community. I mean, because of course it's not the pergélisol. How is it in English? When it's permanent, it's not permanently frost.
Permafrost, yeah.
It's not permafrost out there. It's at the very limit of the permafrost zone. So the way they are building their house and their community is that they are piling huge, like meters and meters of granular, and they are building homes on plateaus with made out of the granular piles. So you have no vegetation. Everything is just dust and gravel and house put there. So the surrounding is exceptional. The surrounding is all nature, but in the community, everything is gray and brown, other than the houses. Yeah.
Right. So it sounds like the boardwalk is a real refuge then from the sound and the noise, as you said, and from the dust and all of the commotion. So that's great. Okay, so we have a question here about the proposed completion date for the final two phases of the project. And maybe you can talk a little bit about the plans for the next phases as well.
Yeah. So the next phase is we are waiting for funding from the federal government. We apply for a funding that especially talks about not only it's more about mobility in the community, and it's more about développement durable, sustainable aspect of the project. But we're still waiting. So they were, after the completion of phase one, they want us to go like full speed ahead and continue with phase two and phase three, because really, we just built 400 meters, but the total just to from one end of the community to the other end is 2 kilometers long. So we built a really small portion. So they are eager to have it complete, and I'm not even talking about the other portion who goes all the way to their cultural side, which will be mainly more a trail, because if not, it's going to be too expensive. So we're waiting for that funding, but now because takes like too long. They are starting to see if they can find some funding for us to at least start on the conceptual phase of phase 2 and phase 3, to have something at least to discuss with them on what will be the following phases. And the following phases will have more program. So a larger gathering space at the kind of east, this is the west end, the east end of the community.
Southeast. Yeah.
Southeast. So the newest part of the community, a larger gathering space, they will have a place where they have their winter festival. We'll have resting pods. So we'll have like different type of program that they will see like the evolution from a kind of a mainly a simple sidewalk to a more elaborate a kind of programmatic items along the way. So a kind of a water, some dock along the way that they can go to, like more
fire circles, dogs, yeah, resting pods. We're trying to, there's this idea. So to speak to this image that's on the screen, we didn't mention this before, but the community is actually surrounded by a firewall. So they've kind of cleared this whole area of trees to protect from the fires. This was really important, especially in 2023. There was a lot of fires in northern Quebec. And so actually this is an older image, but what they've done is kind of cleared a new fire break along kind of this whole perimeter, if you're following my mouse, actually, and they've kept this existing one. So the perimeter of the community is like very clear as within these fire breaks. And then kind of the rest of the master plan to Lake Anna's will begin at the fire break. So what we're proposing to incorporate is kind of like art elements or some sort of entrance feature that announces that this is kind of the start to the trail of the trail to the master to the cultural site. And then also located along the way, it's really important that we mark kind of every kilometer or have some sort of marking for community members to say like if there was an emergency or something. The community up north Kawawa has ATV ambulances. So to be able to radio in and say like, oh, I'm here at this marker, like I need help, or so there's different types of program and elements that we have to incorporate for the master plan to the cultural site that are not necessarily going to be included along the border here of the community.
Right. Okay. Amazing. Actually, I want to touch on something that you mentioned. You said there would be an art installation, and I know that there's been art incorporated throughout. And actually, the very first time I was looking at aerial photos of your project, I saw the caribou, and I thought they were real. Just from the aerial photo, I was like, "Oh, there's caribou walking around. It looks amazing." And then it was pointed out to me that they were actually art and design. So I wanted to ask about the importance that was placed on incorporating art throughout this entire boardwalk project.
Well, I think that art, in particular in this project, is really a way to connect to their culture, like very directly. You mean for them, it's more a kind of a tangible when we express it throughout art pieces. And I think it's resonate to them. And what we try really hard to work with an artist coming from the community. But there are more. They have more artists that are doing like painting or clothing and traditional moccasin and etc. So for public art piece installation in the outdoor, that's why we refer to an artist from Montreal, but giving him the mandate to work really with the community to be able to develop these art pieces. Yes, and I think that we'll continue that collaboration because the communication is already established between James Kennedy, the artist, and the community. So I think it's just uh, continuing and continuing that kind of learning journey of working together and in that kind of true collaboration.
Hmm. Yeah, you mentioned the communication and the relationship that's already been built between the artist and the community, and I'm sure trust is such a huge factor in developing this project. And I think you mentioned that they reached out to you guys to build the boardwalk. So do you have any idea of what how they found you, or what was their initial
Yes,
sort of?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, it was a reference from they call honestly they call someone else,
Okay.
and that someone else say, I don't have time, but I
Mm,
knew someone who would
okay.
be interested. And I think that we were selected because we were in competition with 3 or 4 other companies at the time. And I think that they selected us because we're doing a really wide range of projects from public art, like the ring, for instance, to projects that are more real landscape, but there's always a kind of a uh, art component in what we are doing. And I think that that's really resonate to them. And also, I think that because we frame, like when I was mentioning at the beginning, we frame the attitude towers we were going to approach that project with humility and etc. That I think that make a difference. So yeah, that's what I understand from
Hmm.
their comments.
Great. Okay. Well, I think we are just the last few minutes. If anyone has any last questions, feel free to type them in the Q&A box. But thank you so much, Shaina and Sophie, for again this really beautiful presentation. We're looking forward to seeing how phase 2 and 3 develop. Hopefully, they'll get on the way soon. I know our members are already asking about the next phases as well, so I think they're excited to see how the project develops. So. This has been a really great presentation. I just have a few closing messages to our members. So a few, sorry, announcements. So again, for those who are seeking continuing education hours for this presentation, a reminder that the OAA will record your participation in this webinar on your OAA transcript. So there's no need for individual reporting on your part. We just kindly ask for some patience at this busy time of year as we work to process and confirm the accreditation of your hours. So please, just some patience with that. As well, Shaina and Sophie are generously sharing their slides with us. So these beautiful images, you'll be able to take a look at them yourself. So we're going to send those out along with a survey so you can give our presenters some feedback today. I know that they would appreciate it, and we always appreciate seeing the survey results as well. So please take some time to do that when you get the link. And then finally, we have just one webinar left for the year. So next week, Thursday, December 11th, we have a webinar presented by Oliver Lang, and the title is Systems Approach for Mass Timber High Rise. So that is another climate action webinar. So if you need your climate action hours, make sure that you are signing up for that one. Just please note with next week's webinar, we do have a later start time, so it will start at 12 p.m. rather than 11. And in terms of what we have coming for next year, we do have our first webinar in the new year. It's going to be hosted by the Continuing Education Department here at the OAA. And we're going to be covering topics like how to update your transcript and other important information that you will need as we move into this end of cycle year. So please stay tuned for more details about that webinar. So once again, thank you so much to Sophie and Shaina. Thank you for the attendees for your engagement and your questions. And I will wish everyone a pleasant remainder of your day. Thanks so much.
Thanks,
Thanks,
so much.
everyone.
Bye.